Good morning.
Good morning, Ambassador Burton. Are you ready?
Sure. And as I explain in my book, The Room Where It Happened, this is the concern I have that Trump may do after the election if he wins, because of the disagreement with South Korea and also with Japan on the share of supporting costs. Partial withdrawal from Germany is a piece of evidence that it's serious.
Has President Trump ever directly mentioned it to President Moon in your memory?
Yes, in fact, President Trump and President Moon have had several conversations on this question of the peace support agreement, including in person just after the Osaka G20 meeting, when the DMZ, the third meeting, and he's never directly said, increase your base support payments or we will withdraw. But the clear implication is that withdrawal is a possibility. I went to both Tokyo and Seoul months before I left as National Security Advisor to explain that what Trump was saying in his mind was very serious. I didn't want people to misunderstand, precisely because I worried and I knew that Trump's threat or his idea of withdrawing forces was real. Well, the formula that President Trump originally started out with was cost plus 50%. This is how builders in the United States price building office buildings or apartment buildings. Their profit is 50% over the cost, which is $5 billion in the case of South Korea, according to the way the Pentagon calculates it. So to get $5 billion of actual costs, they had to look at a lot of other things, including the cost incurred in the United States to deal with troops that are deployed overseas and that sort of thing.
So can you elaborate what kind of grounds on the $5 billion?
Yeah, it covers all the cost of deployment, the cost of keeping the troops operational, the upkeep of the bases, transportation, communication, support costs.
Okay. As well as the personnel cost. Yeah.
Right. I bet if you ask the Ministry of Defense in South Korea, I bet their accounting is just as creative as the Pentagon's. And this is how government costs are derived. Not really, no. I mean, you're quite right. My feeling is that in U.S. politics, we have what we call the October surprise, that a candidate who's behind in the election does something in October to try and change the outlook in his favor. And I'm worried that Trump may think of a fourth meeting with Kim Jong-un to be his October surprise, at which point he would say, we've declared an end to the war on the Korean Peninsula. Well, there were a number of ideas about sanctions that could be suspended for certain actions by North Korea. The reason this was a mistake is that it's the same approach that failed in the six-party talks in the Bush administration, that failed as the agreed framework in the Clinton administration. These are all the same things that have been kicking around for years. It's sort of in the State Department file cabinet. And every time they get a chance to negotiate with North Korea, they pull the file cabinet open and there they are. It has not worked in the past, and it would not have worked in the Trump administration. Not unless the regime fundamentally changes from its pursuit of nuclear weapons. And that's, that's hard for some people to accept. But I think Kim Jong-un, this may sound unrealistic, but I think Kim Jong-un still believes the Korean Peninsula can be reunited under North Korean rule, and that the nuclear weapon capability is very important from his perspectives. It's difficult to predict with so many other variables like coronavirus and the economy, however, would be in a group of basically Republican voters who are undecided between Trump and Biden, and it would move them in Biden's direction, I think.
Short question. Who do you expect personally to win this election?
Well, if the election were held today, which is a way the pollsters often ask their questions, I don't think there's much question but that Biden would win. But it's just under 100 days until the election.
Right.
That's an eternity in American politics. So this is anybody who thinks the election is over at this point is really, I think, quite wrong. I'm not going to vote for Trump, that's for sure, but I'm not going to vote for Biden either. I'm going to write in the name of a conservative Republican. I haven't decided who yet. So I wish there were a Ronald Reagan running in November, but not. So, as I say, it won't be a happy election day for me.
Okay.